Issues of the day under T-Radar.
Well, go on, let's talk issues. T-Radar has certainly got some this morning. Good morning to you, T-Radar.
Good morning to you. There's never any shortage of them, is there?
No, there's the big issues like the Copenhagen Climate Change Conference has just got underway.
Yes, and, I think we've discussed it before, the sheer cost, detriment to the planet of all of those people going there. I think, an extra couple of hundred private jets were being flown in. I think I'm just trying to, there's all these statistics sort of being flown around. 15,000 delegates and observers all descending on Copenhagen. I think there was a couple of hundred limos, of which I think only 3 were, sort of electric, environmentally friendly ones. So, in terms of the environment, I suspect there's a large hole opening up over Copenhagen even as we speak.
And many of those T-Radar will be needing sex.
They will, and apparently the local, prostitutes union has offered, they've got a phenomenally large number of members, quite astounding really.
So to speak.
I believe that's, what's that?
So to speak. Anyway,
yes.
carry on.
Thank you. It's very early for that kind of thing. They have offered anyone with a delegate's pass free service in order to help the planet. I'm not entirely sure how that works, because I suspect there are some people with a delegate's pass who will be voting against a lot of things, but nonetheless perhaps they're hoping to butter them up. Perhaps they'll come in and in exchange for a free service they need to listen to a diatribe about the dangers of climate change.
That's right. As long as it's CO2 free sex.
That's right. It'd be very off-putting, I would imagine. Nonetheless, everyone seems to be in on it.
Tell you what is off-putting, the highway that's been closed this morning.
Look, every so often you think, I don't mind being stopped if there's a road slip or something like that, but I'd hate to be driving along in my car and suddenly find myself in 30 centimetres of offal. So somewhere between Woodville and Dannevirke, quite a scenic part of the country, there is now a large offal spill up to 30 centimetres deep, causing cars to skid and crash. I love it, and it's one of those lovely little stories that sort of just makes the paper very quickly and then disappears. And it says, it describes it. It's along a 10-kilometre stretch, all stinking to high heaven. The mixed guts had fallen from a truck after the tailgate opened.
Oh, that's 10k. It's a 10k offal slick.
A 10k offal slick. How on earth you get? And let's just hope that down there in Woodville and Dannevirke, the weather is not bakingly hot. Can you imagine the smell? 10 k's, that goes past a lot of households. And if you get that on your car and it gets up into your motor, can you imagine it?
Oh, you'd get entrails wrapped around moving
parts? You
parts?
would. Yes, you'd have to sort of get underneath that and pull them out of your axle and your drive shaft.
It's like something off that Black Sheep film.
It is, isn't it?
Just... Yes, apparently some of these cars have spun out as well on the offal.
That's right. Yeah, and then once you have spun out and say you've run off the road, then you'd have to get out of your car and wade delicately through the offal, through the guts and the intestines and I guess the non-eatable food organs.
Wouldn't it be a vegan's nightmare?
And if not a vegan's nightmare, I suspect it's probably enough to turn a lot of people vegan. Yeah. There'll be an outbreak, a rash of veganism in the Tararua district. Not what they're after at all, but it probably will do people good, I imagine, because places like that, veganism is probably quite popular.
Yeah. So that highway's not safe. Apparently your garden might not be safe as well.
No, the garden. Look, again, one of those things. Wonderful newspaper headlines. Warnings after children burnt by garden plant. Apparently, and I didn't know this, there is a giant flesh-burning plant growing in various places around the country, and people can be terribly burned and have scars for many, many years.
Blimey. Tell us about it.
Well, it's called the giant hogweed. It's quite a popular plant, apparently.
What a fantastic name.
It's like something from...
Roald Dahl.
Yes, Roald Dahl, or that other one. What's the name with the wizard kid?
With the old.
Yes. How up to date are we with popular culture?
Oh, what's his name? Yeah, the books that have sold millions, and the movies that have
exactly with Daniel
Harry
Radcliffe.
Potter.
That's the one. Yes, because didn't they go to some Hogwarts school or something?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is that, and apparently it can grow between 2 and 5 meters tall. That's almost tree-like. Really?
Yeah.
5 meters.
Yeah. That's more of a tree. Yep.
And it has some kind of things. If it burns you, and it can lead to large fluid-filled blisters.
What do you need to do it? You need to hug it first, or
I think you just need to touch it.
oh,
When the plant compounds react with sunlight on skin, they cause a condition called photodermatitis.
gosh, it's like an acid plant of doom.
It is. And can you imagine, if you didn't really know about it? And the worst thing is, when I saw it on the internet, the photo, you look at the photo and you think, well, that could really be anything. It's quite an indistinguishable photograph, and you think, come on, I need more information than that. It looks a little bit like a wild carrot, if you know what they look like. It's a white sort of flower, but gosh,
Okay.
not happy about it.
I also read this week that that tomato plants are actually carnivorous.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, they will. Some varieties of tomato plants will, if an insect lands on their stem, the insect will die on the stem because of some kind of juice that the tomato plant is oozing.
Yes, oozing.
And then the insect will drop to the ground, and then the plant will gain the nutrients from that insect decomposing on the ground.
Right, so it sort of eats it through decomposition rather than, like one of those...
A Venus.
Those little, yeah.
Venus flytrap thing.
Yes, one of those. And you always saw them in Tarzan movies, and they were enormous. But when you actually saw them, you went, they're really quite small. Did you ever have one as a kid?
I think I did once, but and then you were told not to put your finger. You always put your finger in it.
Yeah, you weren't kind of cruel and went around and caught flies and released them into them so that you could watch them be eaten.
Yeah, I used to be cruel to cicadas.
Really?
I used to go and collect them and then put them in a container.
Terrible.
So it is not very nice, is it?
You'd be reported to SIFs now.
Yeah, probably would, eh?
And you'd probably be taken along to some kind of inappropriate play.
Yeah.
This in Wellington, downstage, they have their Christmas play, an Adagio Christmas, and apparently it contained the use of the F word. And one character spoke of losing her virginity and mind a slapstick orgasm. Quite what that involved, I don't know, but apparently all the young kids from SIFs, there was 140 children with their foster parents, had been taken along to see it. And some people are outraged, and as Downstage rightly pointed out, there's worse than this on television, every day.
Yeah.
They could develop the love of theatre. And there was a lot of, to be fair, there was a lot of acrobatics in it.
It's a bit of
love that kind of thing.
Bit of a beat-up, apparently.
Well, it's one of those things, media finds something, they beat it up. It ends up, even we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Although I guess we're not saying that the kids shouldn't have gone along.
No.
Sure, they had a lovely time, and one swear word in a slapstick orgasm isn't going to ruin their night at the theatre. In fact, to be fair, it could encourage a lifelong passion for the arts.
Yeah, why not? The media's rage should be more directed at the chap who was trying to smuggle geckos.
Yes, why is it they're more often than not Germans, and they're more often than not caught with either eggs or lizards in their underwear. And that they're not doing it simply for pleasure. This time a German visitor, he was leaving Christchurch with some endangered geckos and some skinks hidden in his underwear. How do you do that? How would you sit on the plane? How would you, without them sort of moving around,
Or sitting on them.
He'd hand-sewn 8 compartments to form a single, compact, concealed package. Yes. And he also contained, there was a single gecko in a rolled-up sock.
Oh, the poor wee things. Didn't they have geckos in Germany?
Well, they probably don't have our kind. The gecko, apparently they'd fetch $50,000.
Really?
Not each, I don't think, but, together. The conservative street value... Okay, I love that, hey, the street value of a gecko.
Yeah.
Who goes out on the street and goes, hey, you want to buy a gecko?
Got one down my underpants.
Yeah, apparently €1,000 per gecko. But they didn't know the value of the skinks because trading in skinks hasn't really been identified.
Yeah.
Or it's the first time it's been identified. I would have thought that there wouldn't have been a lot of difference really between a skink and a gecko for a lizard lover.
Maybe he was trying to get them back in time for Christmas.
Could well have done. And this is one of the odd sort of ramifications, I suppose, of the recession that manufacturers don't really like to talk about, and it's happening more and more often. Price of a product stays the same at your supermarket, except they reduce the size. So you're buying, say you're paying your $4.50 for your loaf of bread or your ice cream or your potato chips, and instead of getting a 250 gram packet, you get a 200 gram packet.
I hate that.
And they don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Yes. So apparently there was a survey done, and consumers overwhelmingly described it as sneaky, greedy, and dishonest.
Yeah.
Yes. There was a Waikato Times poll.
Have you noticed any particular products yourself? Or is this...
No, I haven't. But the Consumer Magazine has sort of been outing ones. I think there's been some chocolate ones and some biscuits, and I think Eater Bluebird chips may have done that a couple of years ago as well. But nonetheless, Cadbury, I think, were one of the main sort of main movers of this kind of thing.
I'd be more worried if it was happening in the produce department. You know, like all the fruit started shrinking.
Well, you know, I guess they will have the incredible shrinking fruit, because you haven't tried one of those square peaches yet?
Oh, flatto, or they call
Is that
it
what they're
flattos.
called?
Oh,
Yes.
They're quite easy to hold. I have, but they're not modified or anything. They're an old heirloom variety.
Yes, and they grow nicely for packaging.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful one the other day. I think some Chinese guy had put a little sort of a mould around pears, I think it was, and as the pears grew, they grew to a certain size inside the mould, and so you had this lovely sort of pear shape. Well, not a pear, but it was moulded to look like something, like a little water or something. I don't know.
Fascinating.
Clever. Isn't it great what people do with fruit?
Isn't it? T-Radar?
Can't do that with offal.
No.
We'll speak again. I hope